we are going to continue make some object dissolve. We start today. We will continue do this work with object dissolve. Our object is skull, and by now we created some effects. We are applying some field, and today we are going to continue do shading, and maybe we can change the field a little bit and create more interesting disappearing effect. But for now, this field works like dissolve, but these particles goes in different directions, in not looking really good. I'm going to use some tips and tricks and change some settings for volume axis field and make this disappearing effect more accurate. Before we start, let's see some references in the YouTube. Sorry. Here we have some object disappear, object dissolve in Maya. And you can find some other tutorials how you can dissolve this object with the particles. Good morning. Attendance is open, you can sign in. And also for dissolving object, there is not only particles dissolve we can use, we also can use enclose effect for dissolving. We can divide our subject on the pieces, and by using enclose effect it's also possible to disappear in this object. But also there is some different interesting effects you can do in Blender. Also some of you who use Blender, you can use this tutorial for disappearing effect, and also you can create some interesting composition for disappearing effect. For example, you can use the same texture, or you can use different color for these particles. This is also really interesting and good looking. And for the Maya, there is original tutorial. You can also use this tutorial. In this tutorial, you can see how carefully field is set up for really a smooth disappearing effect. And today we are going to try to make the same wavy disappearing effect. I will send you original tutorial. You can also use this for your project. And what else we have? There are many motion graphics which you can create with this disappearing effect. Not only object disappear, also maybe some stuff with the text. And you can find some interesting references and also see the result. There are many tutorials about this effect, and mostly of them use the same method as is showing on our lectures. And here is barrow. I forget the name of this object. And also this is disappearing effect. And dissolve object in Houdini. It's also really interesting. We don't use Houdini because this is a production use program, and on the Houdini most of the work consists on programming. So these effects mostly written some scripts to provide some effects in Houdini. And Houdini is a really complicated program. Instead of the Maya, with the using of Maya, we can create the same effects with some pre-made fields or some objects. But in Houdini, most of the work is really complicated, and they use nodes, they use code based effects. But in the Houdini, you can create the really high quality effects, which is used in Hollywood movies. And that's why, if you're interested in visual effects, you should continue learn in how to create effects in Houdini mostly. But also, yeah, here is some tutorials for dissolving effect in Houdini and Cinema 4D and the Octane render, and really masterpiece of dissolving object. You can see they use also particles and disappearing object. And here's also tutorials in the Blender, and uh, dissolving objects is like a magic. And also, do you remember how Thanos disappeared and blew away? And that's why we use this dissolving effect and trying to create some interesting effects with this disappearing. Marvel movie? Yes, they used Houdini mostly. But also it can be made in Blender, it can be made in Maya with the same. Uh, Maybe we can find some tutorials. Thanos. There is some FX tries. Some of them use Thanos for dissolving, and uh, and also it can be created even in After Effects. Yes, without no plugins, they can create disappearing effect in After Effects. It's also possible. It also can be created in DaVinci Resolve or in some kind of programs. We can also see this part. It's also really beautiful, and maybe it's done with particles. It's really great. Mm. But in our tutorial, we are going to use our methods with the object dissolving with a mask. With a mask, we can hide object and emit objects from emit particles from the line of emission. And let's see what we've done for today. We can increase the numbers of particles and change the size of these particles uh, to make it more natural, uh, the size of my particles is the same, and when we render, it's looking like little spheres, but we can change the particle size, and we can change it with a random ID, and now it's more natural. For example, it's like objects divided in different parts and disappearing. Uh, with this small changing, we can change appearance of these particles, and it becomes more natural. Next, I'm going to increase the number of particles even more. I hope my computer will deal with it. Maybe this is too much. Let's decrease it a little bit. Okay, next I'm going to change the volume axis field. Let's make it bigger and put it somewhere here. Let's try and see how it looks. Now the particle starts go away with these positions. Maybe I'm remove round axis and make some directional speed more, and change direction in this way, and we can try. Maybe for before while I'm setting up my field, let's decrease the number of particles to see how they live, and after that I can increase the particles number. In the volume axis field, we can change turbulence frequency, and we can add some detailed turbulence. Now it's more like wind disappeared. After that, we are going to change some we are going to change the mass of the particles. Now our nucleus gravity is 0. We can leave our gravity as in the Earth, and now these particles goes down, and they have density mass, and the particles comes down. Next, I'm going to change the mass of the particles. If the mass will be some not heavy, the particles can blow away with a natural behavior. Here we have mass scale. We can use graph to define some different mass for the particles, because we have different scale and the radius of the particles. That's why we also can randomize our mass for the particles. Some of them will be heavy, some of them will be with less. Okay, next I'm going to change conserve of these particles. In the dynamic properties, we can find some conserve. If we decrease this number, we can see how field will affect on these particles. these particles lives without any turbulence, I guess. Let's put it somewhere here. And we can increase magnitude. And we can increase some turbulence. Maybe not big. And you also can play with these parameters uh, to achieve some results. Maybe we can decrease magnitude. And also in the particles we have some speed. We can change the speed, decrease the speed of the particles. And now they attitude in different way. We can increase the number and see result. Настя, maybe we can reset our volume axis field. Our particles has gravity. Our particles has mass. Maybe we can increase the mass and mass scale, and let's see the result. And also we can use some, not away from center, but with a directional speed. And here is our direction. Let's see how it works. And now we can add some turbulence little bit and see one by one when we add some effects how it works. With this turbulence, at the end particles starts flowing. Next we are going to change some frequency. And now with this frequency it looks more different. Next let's add some little bit details. And now it's work like this. Let's go back to the particles. Maybe we can increase the mass, decrease the mass, and add some more convey. Let's change the lifespan. I'm going to undo these changes because it's not so good. Okay, again. I like the start of this of the simulation, but in the end it's really straight. We should disappear it more. Also we have opacity scale according to the age, I think. Here is the radius. Radius we can also decrease. Maybe we can scale this field. Maybe we can decrease directional speed. And now here is some really turbulence result. We can decrease the turbulence and see what we have. And with these parameters, you can play and change the particle's attitude. Or we can also create another field for these particles, and maybe with the turbulence field we can achieve some randomization at the end. I will use some uh, volume shape none, and if you have volume shape none, this turbulence field will affect on all of these particles. No matter where is field also what we can do, we can rotate this field a little bit. Now I think it's more natural, but in the middle it's not some wavy. I need to create some wavy effect. Maybe we can increase the mass of the particles. And if we increase the mass, No, it looks more interesting. And also let's decrease opacity. Let's change. We need to control how they're disappearing for achieving some interesting effects. And maybe now it's more natural. We can change the lifespan and also direction. Maybe we can change the lifespan even more. Let's see what how it will look like. Lifespan, it means how long the particles live. For example, the particles created, after 1 second, they're disappeared. And with this disappearing effect, you can see how long they live. Or maybe we can duplicate this field and use two fields. Let's experiment. No, it's not affecting. Maybe with this turbulent field we can make some randomization of these particles. And also we can change the frequency according to the time. And it means we will have some randomization of this frequency. But I think it's not affect. We can add some noise. Okay, maybe we can try to render this out and see how it looks like. We can change the radius of these particles and increase the number of particles. I hope my computer will work. And also we need to add some background for these particles. Let's create studio for rendering, and we will use our plane. And now we can use some bend in the deformer, non-linear deformer. I'm adding some bend handle. When we add some bend handle, we can make some curvature. We should rotate this bend on the 19 degrees and on the z-axis also 19 degrees. After that, we can curvate this object and use some studio. And now also we can increase the scale, and we can change position of this handle, and you can change the color of this background. Let's create some new material. We will use some Arnold render material, standard surface. We can use some dark color material, or we can change some maybe a rubber for this. And also we can increase some exposure for this scene when we select lighting, or maybe without exposure. We can add some area light, the same as we done with previous work. We will use Arnold render area light and increase some size of this. We also can change some particles material, but I think it can be crucial and change the texture also. But we can change it to the Lambert, and now it's looks like a skull. And also we can we can animate this turbulence field. I think we can put it here. After that, we can move it. And also we can check the animation by using Play Blast, and we will see the real speed of this simulation. The speed is fast. We have only 5 seconds animation, and I think we can change direction a little bit. Maybe something like this. And also, if you need to see particles longer, you can increase the lifespan. Maybe they will live a little bit longer. Okay, let's undo, because previous effect will look more natural. Okay, let's go back for setting up the light and quality of render. Uh, we can use some camera angle and change position of our background. We can select plane and delete type by history, and now deformer will not affect anymore on this plane, and you can rotate and change the position of this plane. And also let's try to animate some camera to achieve some interesting rotation of school. For example, we can use camera animation. We can create new camera, or we can animate our perspective camera. For example, if we select our perspective camera, uh, you can change the position of this camera and animate. But if you want to continue work on this model, you need to create also new camera, because animation can be breaked. But that's why, as I'm suggesting you to create new camera, you can create it from the menu, select create camera, and now we have a new camera. From the view, we can look at select. We can change in the panels perspective for the camera 1. Now we can look through this camera 1. And also in the settings here, we can change our camera frame, and this camera frame help you to understand the size of render image, and you can put the needed records and film plane and make some camera animation. For example, I want to start from this one, and after that we can dolly zoom with this camera. Let's go back to the uh, zero frame, and we need to select this camera and create scale. We can create some key selected on the translate and rotate. And after that, I'm going to change the frame. For example, on we can use some uh, two keyframes in the middle and in the end. Now we can move camera here, and at the end we can move camera somewhere here, or rotate something. And now we have this animation with effect. You should film your effect with the camera. Maybe I can change some camera animation a little bit, because now it's uh, the composition of this camera movement is wrong, I think. Maybe let's change animation a little bit. And also we can change the starting point somewhere like somewhere here, and somewhere, and let's see result. I want to focus on these particles. Don't use too much keyframes for this camera movement, because if you use some more keyframes, it will be difficult to change the speed of the camera and camera angle. If you can use three keyframes, it's really easy to change some position, because Maya have some graph animation. For example, animation, it means something change its position according to the time. And that's why you can manage your animation in the graph editor. And now you can see, if we select this camera, you can see the graphic of this animation. And you can change, for example, translate that in the 60 frame. We can change position, and now we also can affect on this animation by using this graph editor. This curve, it means animation has A's in and A's out. A's in and A's out from the animation. This is every object has some inputs. For example, it starts slowly, and in the middle it moves fast, and becomes slowly at the end. It means as in and as out. If the camera will move with the same speed, it will be more like robotic animation. That's why camera animation, by the default, every animation in Maya has this graph, this smooth in between frames. and it's more natural, and this animation is looks more accurate. And when you finish with the camera, don't forget to switch between this camera. And we can go back to the perspective and continue work with this object. If you will continue work with the camera, your animation will be broken. And now my camera is selected, and we can see how it moves. But now we look through the perspective camera. And for the rendering, also we can change uh, our rendering through the camera shape. And we are going to see what we can see from this camera, and check some positions of the camera and how it looks. You can check through the all animation and see how object is disappeared. You can select camera angle uh, from the bottom. Uh, it will be more uh, dramatic, I think, for this effect. And now you can see at the end we see the borders of our plane. That's why we need to scale it a little bit. And check every step of this simulation through our new camera. And now we're ready to work with this, uh, to work with our light. Let's make some light settings. We can use some exposure and check result. We can change the temperature. We can simulate some particles. Um, if we press play, uh, the simulation of these particles continue, and now we can check our particle simulation and how it looks. Maybe we can add some another area light. We will use two lights for the smooth shadow, and this one will be more neutral. Let's check. Oh, this one is interesting. I think we can use this slide setup for this work, and also we can check uh, the light according to the different positions. In this moment, I think we should change the light direction, and see now it's much better. When you use camera animation, you should check every step of the animation before you render a sequence, because when you render all of these frames, sometimes you can see some gaps between background, some not interesting light or something else. And you should check every piece of the simulation and see the result. Maybe we can use the last frame not so far for the camera. We can change when we looking through selected camera. I'm switching to the camera, and now we can make some um, changes for this animation. We can use something like this for the end. And let's see result. And also we can use some cache for this animation. When you finish with particles, we can create cache. If we create cache, we don't need simulate this animation every time. It will be more faster, and you can switch between frames, and particles will also be the same. If we happy with the simulation, we can select some particles and go. Let's save this result before, and we can create some cache for these particles. With the particle selected, we can create new cache with an object, and after that, it's write to the our computer's memory of this simulation. The destination will be by the default in my folder, and we should keep this cache until it's done with this timeline. This cache animation, this is cache for the particles different from this one. This small cache you didn't see now. We have here some button for the cache, but when we create a cache from our menu, it means it recorded to our memory. And when we change the frame, now we can see the particles according to this frame. And when we play with this cache, our animation will be a little bit fast instead of our simulation. The cache, it means you recorded your simulation to the memory, and the Maya didn't solve every time, resolve this particle simulation. It's really easy to use cache when you need to check your render through the timeline, and you can switch between frames and see also particles in this time. And this cache will help you to when you render your simulation, if something broke with particle simulation, uh, you should re-render entire sequence. But if you use cache, it's easy to start from the middle frames and make some rendering not from the beginning but from the broken file, broken image. And I think this one is good enough for this simulation. And also we can maybe increase duration of this animation. For example, when we reached to the end of these particles, we didn't see how they disappeared. I think we can increase our simulation and resolve the cache. Maybe according to 10 frames more. When you change the number of frames, you should recalculate your cache. And we can open an object, and in the settings you can change the time slider according to the time slider. It means we have from 0 to the end simulation, and also we can see the directory of this cache. It's in our folder. This is a cache name, and we can create and we can add and blend, and this cache will be recalculated. And if you want to change also for example, settings for the particles, you also should recalculate this cache before the render. That's why we stop this render, because when our mask is over, we have this emitter. Okay. We should change our sequence also. We have our frames here. We need to duplicate the last frame till the end. For example, we have emission here, and we need to create some black cubes until the end of the frame. And when we open our folder and open our mask emitter, we should duplicate. We can use some mask field. In the mask field, we have total black frame. We can put this total black frame in the emitter and put it here. We can use the same name for this frame, and we should name it with a number of our frames. And now, oops, we can copy paste this file and change the numbers of this frame. Let's rename it until the end of our simulation. But you can keep only 100 frames. It's okay. And also for the mask, we should keep the last frame with the same prefix, but you should change the numbers of this image. If you skip some frame, your animation can be broke. Okay, and let's go back to our simulation, and we need to recalculate our cache. And for your task, for this object dissolve, you also can create the camera animation and record your simulation with this movement. Here we can see some mask, and we need to fix this frame. And also before you render, you can use Play Blast to see the animation. After you cache your particles, you can check that everything okay, and after that you can start your render sequence. Here we will have some broken file. I think we should open mask and check the file. This one is not total black, I think. We can delete this one and duplicate total black. That's why we have this copy here. 19, 12, and I think we can check. Let's check. Now it's everything okay. And let's see how particles particles will not disappear because we have to add some more frames, but I think it's enough. Let's see the play blast. Now we can see the entire animation and check the speed of the camera. If everything okay, we're ready for the rendering. Okay, let's save our project. And also, I don't have enough memory. I'm going to delete this play blast. Where is the play blast? Okay, maybe later. Here we have some result. Movies. Okay. Okay, now we're ready for the rendering. The same, we are going to change some uh, render settings. You can increase the quality of render with using some more HD preset, but now I will use only HD 540. And I'm going to change image format for the JPEG and change some preset. I will use name indicator and extension. And now we can use some render frame until our end of timeline. And what else we can change? We can now go to the render sequence. Here we need to select our camera. If you select perspective, you will not be able to see your camera animation, and you should change the current renderable camera to the camera 1. And also we can change our location. If you, for example, name of the computer consists of the Cyrillic symbols or other symbols except of the English, you can create the render folder in the disk C and also call it render object dissolve, and use this directory for the rendering. And now we can render sequence and close. It will take time. Maybe we can wait several frames and see a result. I will pause this recording. Okay, we almost rendered several frames, and here you can see some animation. One remarkable for why we use camera animation, because if we will use static camera, we will not see these particles disappearing. That's why we will use some zoom out of our camera to record these particles disappears. And also according to the light, use some light source on your object. For example, here I'm using some composition of this light on the object, and another light source is like a fill-in object. You can use this with a small exposure and with some cold temperature, and if because we don't have any light source, for example, we don't have sun from this side, and you can use the cold temperature, like you have shadows and you have atmosphere, and our atmosphere with the cold temperature, and that's why I'm using the soft light with the heat temperature as a main light source. That's why I have this composition, and uh, you can use the same, or you can use some your feeling of this light. I think we've done for this lecture, and you also need to render entire sequence and create a video from your sequence. And also you can use some uh, audio effect, sound effect with, for example, wind noise. You can add some maybe sound effect, and it will be great for this work. And we've done for today. Thank you for your attention.